My name is Michael, and for 15 long years I believed I was living a life blessed with unwavering love and trust. In the beginning, everything seemed perfect. I was an ambitious entrepreneur, full of hope and energy, building my fledgling tech company from the ground up. It was during that exciting yet challenging time that I met Emily. To the outside world, she appeared to be nothing short of an angel, graceful, warm, and compassionate. Her smile could light up a room, and her kind eyes made it seem as if she understood every unspoken thought I had. I was immediately drawn to her, believing that fate had finally granted me the partner I always longed for. Our first meeting took place at a mutual friends gathering. I remember the moment clearly. A soft melody played in the background as she stepped into the room, her presence commanding attention without demanding it. We exchanged glances, and in that fleeting moment, I felt an inexplicable connection. Emily's gentle laughter and soothing tone gradually became the soundtrack of my everyday life. In the following weeks, we began spending more time together, discussing dreams, ambitions, and the intricacies of running a business. Every conversation with her filled me with optimism and assurance, as if nothing in the world could go awry. I soon realized that Emily was not only a charming companion but also a brilliant advisor. With her by my side, I felt invincible. She attended board meetings, offered advice on pivotal decisions, and even managed to charm potential investors with her intelligence and poise. Friends and colleagues alike admired her, often remarking on how effortlessly she balanced warmth with astute business acumen. In public, she exuded an aura of perfection, always calm and collected. At home, her presence transformed our shared space into a sanctuary of comfort and love. I trusted her implicitly, never suspecting that behind that impeccable facade lay secrets too dark to imagine. During those early years, our life together was an idyllic blend of passion and professional success. We spent evenings discussing future plans, and weekends exploring ideas for the company. I admired the way she handled stressful situations, always providing a listening ear and wise counsel. Every shared moment, every whispered word, seemed to weave an intricate tapestry of love and shared destiny. I often marveled at how naturally she integrated herself into every aspect of my world, whether it was my business endeavors or personal dreams. The partnership we forged felt invincible, and I was filled with the certainty that nothing could ever come between us. Yet, amidst the joy and accomplishments, there were subtle hints that not everything was as it seemed. There were fleeting moments when I caught a glimpse of something hidden behind her warm eyes, a shadow of secrecy that quickly vanished whenever I looked directly at her. Minor discrepancies began to emerge in our day-to-day routines. Sometimes, Emily would receive phone calls late at night or step out for a brief period with an excuse that never quite satisfied my curiosity. I dismissed these occurrences as the byproducts of a busy and successful life. After all, I believed I had found the one person in whom I could confide every hope and dream, never imagining that those small inconsistencies were the first threads in a tapestry of deception. As our relationship deepened, so did my reliance on her. I allowed her into the inner sanctum of my life, into boardrooms, strategic meetings, and even the confidential financial records of my company. I believed that sharing every detail of my life was the essence of true intimacy. I never imagined that the very act of trust could become the instrument of my undoing. My company was thriving, and with Emily's apparent insight, we managed to overcome every obstacle together. I began to see our future as one of endless possibility, with every risk worth taking because she was there to share in the triumphs and challenges. However, beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life, a hidden agenda was quietly taking shape. I never suspected that the same hands I believed were holding me up were slowly orchestrating a grand scheme that would span over a decade. The blissful ignorance in which I lived was a carefully maintained illusion, one that would eventually shatter and expose a betrayal of unimaginable proportions. Even as I celebrated each milestone in our journey, an insidious plan was unfolding in secret. I remained blissfully unaware that the warm, loving partner I so adored was also the mastermind behind a series of calculated moves aimed at draining not only our shared finances but also the very foundation of trust that had defined our relationship. In those early years, my world was filled with dreams and promises. I never thought that the angel I had embraced so fully could harbor such dark ambitions. I was enchanted by her ability to balance both beauty and brains, to make every day seem like a promise of a better tomorrow. The hours we spent together, whether discussing business strategy or simply enjoying quiet moments at home, cemented my belief that I had found my soulmate. I was proud of the partnership we built, the way our strengths complemented one another, and the vision we shared for a brighter future. Little did I know that behind every smile and every reassuring word lay a meticulously calculated plan, a secret that would one day unravel the very fabric of my existence. In retrospect, those first years of enchantment now seem like the calm before an inevitable storm. Every detail, every gesture, was part of a larger performance, a careful act meant to lull me into a false sense of security. The image of Emily as a flawless, angelic presence was not an accidental byproduct of fate, but a deliberate construction designed to deflect suspicion. I was unaware that, even as I reveled in our shared success, the seeds of my undoing were being sown quietly in the background. The life I cherished, the dreams I nurtured, and the trust one so freely gave were all about to be challenged by revelations that would shake me to my core. Thus begins my tale, a story of passion, ambition, and ultimately betrayal. The days of bliss and the nights of hope would soon give way to an unfolding drama that I could never have foreseen. Every word, every laugh, and every loving touch became tainted with the knowledge that behind the angelic facade lay a hidden agenda. As I look back now, I realize that the warning signs were there all along, masked by the perfection I so willingly embraced. Little did I know that my unwavering trust would become the very instrument of my downfall, setting the stage for a conflict that would challenge my beliefs about love, loyalty, and the nature of human ambition. I continued to build my company with relentless optimism, confident that with Emily by my side, nothing was impossible. Over the years, she seamlessly integrated herself into every facet of my life. Whether it was meeting with investors or offering strategic counsel during board meetings, her presence was constant and reassuring. Friends and business partners alike marveled at how naturally she fit into the picture, how her graceful demeanor and sharp wit won over even the most skeptical of minds. I found solace in her unwavering support and began to believe that our success was written in the stars. Yet, as time passed, the first subtle signs of a hidden truth started to emerge. There were small anomalies, moments when her eyes seemed to flash with a secret, instances when she would hastily change the subject whenever the topic of our finances arose. At first, I dismissed these as the natural byproducts of the stress that accompanies the responsibilities of a growing enterprise. My focus was on the future, on achieving our dreams, and I never considered that these minor quirks could be indicative of something more sinister. Emily's presence was like a balm that soothed all my doubts, and I remained blissfully unaware of the dark currents swirling beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life. It began with isolated incidents that, in isolation, might have been dismissed as coincidences. A misplaced document here, an unexplained phone call there. Each occurrence was trivial enough to be overlooked. I told myself that the pressures of balancing a demanding career and a fulfilling personal life could occasionally lead to such lapses. But as these incidents multiplied, a nagging suspicion took root in the recesses of my mind. I started to notice discrepancies in our financial records, small withdrawals and transfers that I could not readily explain. Every time I broached the subject with Emily, she offered a gentle smile and a vague explanation, her eyes betraying no hint of guilt or urgency. I began to wonder if perhaps I was overthinking the situation, letting my imagination run wild in the midst of countless responsibilities. After all, the woman I loved had always been a pillar of strength and wisdom, a constant source of guidance during times of uncertainty. Yet, as the irregularities in our accounts grew more frequent, so did my internal turmoil. Late one evening, while reviewing a set of financial statements for an important meeting the next day, I noticed a series of coded entries that I had never seen before. They were small at first, barely noticeable line items that could easily be mistaken for clerical errors. But as I traced them further, a pattern began to emerge, one that hinted at a deliberate and systematic misappropriation of funds. The numbers on the page told a story of their own, a story of incremental theft, so meticulously orchestrated that it had managed to remain hidden in plain sight for years. I spent sleepless nights poring over every detail, my mind reeling with a growing sense of betrayal. The evidence was subtle but undeniable. Each irregularity, each unaccounted for sum, was a piece of a larger puzzle that, once complete, would reveal the true nature of Emily's involvement in my financial affairs. I began to suspect that the loving partner I had trusted implicitly was not who she appeared to be. The thought was unbearable, and yet the facts were staring me in the face. In the days that followed, I grew increasingly anxious, plagued by a sense of impending doom. My dreams turned into nightmares filled with images of deception and loss. I tried to confide in close friends, yet their reassurances only served to deepen my internal conflict. How could the woman I cherished, my confidant, my advisor, my love, be capable of such subtle treachery? Each day, as I faced the challenges of running my company, I felt the weight of a secret slowly closing in on me, a secret that threatened to unravel everything I had built over the years. Despite my growing doubts, I maintained a facade of calm and determination. I continued to attend meetings, to smile warmly in public, and to trust Emily with the details of our finances. But privately, I was consumed by a relentless need to uncover the truth. I began to keep meticulous records, cross-checking every transaction and comparing them against the official statements provided by our bank. With each passing day, the evidence mounted, and the once unshakable image of my angelic partner began to show cracks. The trust one had placed in her was slowly being eroded by a tide of undeniable facts that pointed to a hidden agenda spanning over a decade. As I delved deeper into the financial records, I discovered an intricate web of transfers, offshore accounts, and shell companies that had been used to conceal the true extent of the theft. The realization was shattering. The small discrepancies I had once dismissed were, in fact, deliberate moves in a masterful game of deception. Every number, every coded entry was a testament to a carefully executed plan that had been unfolding right under my nose for years. I felt betrayed, heartbroken, and utterly alone. The life I had built with Emily, the dreams we had nurtured together, now seemed like elaborate illusions masking a cold, calculated ambition. My days became a blur of paranoia and sleepless nights, as I meticulously documented every irregularity and sought answers from sources I had never thought to consult. The more I learned, the more I realized that the person I had loved was not the selfless angel I had once believed her to be. Instead, she had woven a complex tapestry of lies designed to defraud not only me, but also the very institution I had dedicated my life to building. The knowledge of this betrayal was a bitter pill to swallow, a realization that would forever change the way I viewed trust, love, and ambition. The day finally came when I could no longer contain the storm of emotions raging inside me. With the damning evidence gathered over months of tireless investigation, I resolved to confront Emily. I chose a cold, gray evening when the chill in the air seemed to mirror the icy dread building within me. I had printed out every document, every financial record that painted a damning picture of her secret dealings. I sat in our living room, a place that had once been filled with warmth and laughter, now transformed into a silent arena for the showdown that was about to unfold. When Emily entered the room that night, her expression was serene, as if she were oblivious to the gravity of the moment. I motioned for her to sit down, my heart pounding so fiercely I was sure it would burst from my chest. Without preamble, I began to lay out the evidence on the coffee table before us. The printed emails, bank statements, and coded entries formed an undeniable trail of deception, a meticulous plan that spanned 15 years. I looked into her eyes, searching desperately for any flicker of remorse or regret, but all I saw was a cold, calculated detachment. For what felt like an eternity, a heavy silence enveloped the room. Finally, in a voice that was unnervingly calm, Emily spoke. She explained that every decision, every move she had made, was part of a larger strategy, a strategy born from years of being underestimated and cast aside in a world that rewarded only the ruthless. She claimed that the theft was not merely an act of greed, but a means of reclaiming power and autonomy in an unforgiving society. To her, my company represented both the source of my vulnerability and the perfect target for her ambitions. As she continued to speak, I felt my world shatter into 1,000 irreparable fragments. The woman I had adored, the one who had become synonymous with love and trust, was nothing more than a master manipulator who had used every ounce of her charm to mask a heart driven by cold ambition. Her words, delivered with clinical precision, struck me with a force I had never before experienced. I listened, numb and broken, as she detailed how she had orchestrated the diversion of funds through a labyrinth of offshore accounts and shell companies. Every subtle hint, every unexplained absence, now took on a sinister meaning. I felt as if I were standing in the ruins of a life that had been built on a foundation of lies, a foundation that was crumbling beneath the weight of her calculated deception. The realization that I had been deceived for so long filled me, with a profound sense of betrayal and loss. The man I once was, hopeful, trusting, and full of dreams, had been reduced to a mere shadow of his former self. In the aftermath of that fateful confrontation, a grueling legal battle ensued. I was forced to step into a world of litigation and public scrutiny, where every detail of our personal and professional lives was dissected by attorneys, investigators, and the unyielding glare of the media. Courtrooms became my new battleground, and the painful process of exposing the full extent of Emily's treachery was both emotionally and financially draining. I hired top-notch forensic accountants and legal experts who painstakingly retraced the convoluted financial transactions that had siphoned millions of dollars over the years. Each new discovery in the courtroom was a fresh blow, a stark reminder that the love I had known was built on deception. As the legal proceedings dragged on, I found little solace in the public attention that turned my personal tragedy into a media spectacle. Headlines branded me as the deceived husband, while the intricate details of Emily's betrayal were paraded for all to see. Yet, amid the chaos and humiliation, I clung to a single, burning desire for justice. I refused to let her manipulation define the rest of my life. With every court session, every deposit of evidence, I began to reclaim a part of myself that had been lost in the wake of her treachery. The process was excruciatingly slow and often made me question whether I would ever fully recover from the profound betrayal I had suffered. In private moments, as I sifted through the remnants of a life built on shattered trust, I began to document every detail of my ordeal. I kept a journal, recording the sequence of events and the emotional toll each revelation took on me. In those pages, I sought not only to understand the mechanics of her deceit, but also to come to terms with the loss of the man I had once believed I was. I shared fragments of my story on online forums and in small support groups, hoping that by voicing my pain, I could also offer a cautionary tale to others. It was a desperate attempt to make sense of the senseless, to transform the anguish into something that might help mend the broken pieces of my soul. In the long, painful months that followed the courtroom battles, I found myself at a crossroads, a juncture where I had to decide whether to be defined by the betrayal or to rise above it and rebuild a life from the ashes. The road to recovery was neither smooth nor straightforward. Each day presented its own challenges, waking up to the stark reality of the loss, confronting memories that surged unbidden, and facing the overwhelming task of reclaiming my identity. I began the slow, arduous process of rebuilding my company and, more importantly, my sense of self. The scars left by Emily's deceit were deep and indelible, but with every small victory, I reclaimed a bit of the man I once was. In the quiet moments of solitude, I reflected on the lessons learned from those turbulent years. I realized that trust, once given freely, must be tempered with cautious discernment. I came to understand that even the most angelic facade can hide a heart driven by ambition and self-interest. The betrayal was not just an attack on my finances. It was an assault on my very identity, a challenge to the belief that love and loyalty were enough to overcome any obstacle. I learned that vulnerability is both a strength and a weakness, and that safeguarding one's inner world is essential in a world where appearances can be deceiving. As time passed, I began to forge a new path, one that was marked by hard-won wisdom and a renewed sense of purpose. I focused on mending the cracks in my business and surrounding myself with those who had proven their loyalty. I allowed myself to grieve the loss of the perfect illusion I had once known, and in that grief, I found the strength to move forward. I dedicated myself to projects that rekindled my passion for innovation and creativity, determined not to let the shadows of the past define my future. Slowly, the darkness receded, replaced by the light of new beginnings and the promise of redemption. In sharing my story, I hoped not only to exorcise the ghosts of my past, but also to offer a beacon of hope to others who might be navigating similar storms. I spoke at conferences, contributed to online communities, and even participated in support groups, always emphasizing that while betrayal can shatter the strongest of bonds, it also presents an opportunity for rebirth. Every scar is a testament to survival, a reminder that even in the wake of the deepest treachery, one can learn to trust again, albeit more judiciously. Today, as I stand on the threshold of a future both uncertain and filled with possibility, I carry with me the lessons of those tumultuous 15 years. The journey was long, marked by moments of despair and flashes of defiant hope. I now understand that the path to healing is paved with acceptance, resilience, and the courage to confront painful truths. Though the memory of Emily's calculated deceit still lingers, it no longer holds me captive. Instead, it serves as a solemn reminder of the fragility of human trust and the strength required to rebuild in its aftermath. I share these final reflections not as a tale of defeat, but as a celebration of the human spirit's capacity to endure and transform. The woman who once embodied perfection in my eyes revealed herself to be a master of deception, yet through that profound betrayal, I discovered the true meaning of strength. In the ruins of our shared past, I unearthed a reservoir of determination and resolve that continues to propel me forward. Every new day is a testament to the resilience that was forged in the crucible of loss and disappointment. As I close this chapter of my life, I remain determined to honor the lessons learned. I have learned that true trust must be earned and that even the most dazzling facade can conceal unspeakable darkness. I have embraced the fact that moving forward does not mean forgetting the past, but rather integrating it into a narrative that fuels growth and self-discovery. My story, as painful as it was, stands as a permanent reminder that from betrayal can emerge the most profound transformations. Now, with cautious optimism and an unyielding spirit, I step into the future, resolved to rebuild not only what was lost, but also to create something new and meaningful. The road ahead is uncertain, yet I welcome it with open eyes and a hardened heart, knowing that every scar is both a reminder of what was and a symbol of what can be reclaimed. This is my legacy, a testament to the power of resilience, the necessity of guarded trust, and the eternal possibility of redemption.